Welcome to the FIG Gymnastics online seminar. My name is Seko Mokoti. I'm a member of the FIG Education Commission. Our topic for this seminar is enhancing the mental and physical abilities of the trampoline gymnast in a safe and positive way. And here with us today to discuss this topic, we have two guests. We have Christophe Lambert from France, as well as Michael Kuhn from Germany. Welcome to you both.
Hello, Teko.
Welcome and hello.
Right, I'll start with you, Christophe. I know you as a gymnast before, but your accolade as a national coach, you had 4 individual world championship titles, as well as 4 team world championship titles. And then you are also the French national director for trampoline gymnastics from 2002 till the 2020. You are a member of the FIG Trampoline Technical Committee since 2004, and you're also a academy expert having a level 3 brevet in FIG Trampoline. Welcome. We're really happy to have you today. And then with Michael, you are a former world-class athlete yourself, vice world champion in individual in 1986 and 1992, national coach in trampoline from 98 till 2016. One of the accolades really being Olympic gold and bronze medals in the 2004 and world champion in trampoline individual and team in 2001 and 2003. You're also an expert, just like Christophe, expert on the academy program, and since 2006, and you're a life kinetic coach since 2012. Welcome again. Christophe, I would like to begin with you. As a member of the Trampoline Technical Committee, you're also involved in putting the code of points and so on for trampoline. But when you talk about trampoline is as an apparatus, is used by many gymnastics clubs to really develop a spatial awareness and skills for many other apparatus. But in FIG trampoline, we're talking about 3 disciplines. Can you talk to us a little bit about those 3 disciplines and how they're related to each other?
Yes, you're totally right, Seko. The trampoline is used all around the world, not only as a competitive apparatus, but it's also a very interesting tool to learn different skills for the world of gymnastics, but not only. Just remember that also acrobatic skiing, diving, they really use this. All the new sports where acrobatic skills are involved, they use it. And if we will go back in the history, even the astronauts, they used trampoline to feel how it looks like in space, and on the mission to moon, they were using trampoline to train. So yes, trampoline is good. But when we are talking about the trampoline in gymnastics world, yes, we do have individual trampoline. That is the most known activity. And we have the synchronized trampoline that people loves a lot because it's beautiful and it's very easy for them to understand. And we do have some tremendous also apparatus like tumbling, where this is a link of acrobatic skills on kind of gymnastic floor, but a long track. And we do have this DMT activity, which is also fantastic because we see a lot of skills, acrobatic skills, and where the landing is so important.
All right. So what will you and Michael focus on in this seminar?
Well, we will try to speak a lot about the behavior of the coach. We are having acrobatic activities. So the coaching process is so important, and the coach behavior is so important. At the same time, to teach the skills, but to do our activity in a full security. And this is very important in our world today, that we bring fun, but at the same time we bring security.
Please go ahead with your presentation.
Our theme today is enhancing the mental and physical abilities of trampoline gymnasts. But years ago, we would have said only this. We would have said, okay, how do we teach our gymnasts to be better. And this is it, not going to what is on the side, like a safe, positive way to do things. It was just like, okay, how can we be the best? I'm talking 30 years ago, 40 years ago. It was just, how can we be the best? And it has changed. Now it's, let's say, we can say enhancing the mental and physical abilities of the trampoline gymnast in a safe and positive way. So, of course, in the recent years, but not only recent years, for many years already, we understood that we have to work in a safe and positive way. But today, Tseko, the reality is that we have to reverse this sentence, and we have to put first in a safe and positive way, enhancing the mental and physical abilities of the gymnast. This means that we have to explore new ways to teach, reinforce the abilities, propose necessary and acceptable loads in training, and prepare the gymnast to the tension of the competition, but putting the gymnast first. This is very important for us in our trampoline community. Because as you know, if your pedagogical tools are only repeating the same thing louder, then it's not a tool, it's just a disturbance. And what we try to explain to the coaches, especially during the academies, is you have to find new ways, you have to use new technologies to teach the skills and to put the gymnast in a good environment so we can learn a lot from you. If you just repeat the same sentence, it will never work. But yes, of course, in the last 20 years, coaches have already changed from what we could call an army style to something like a more cooperative style. Well, but as I said previously, there is a limit where we cannot only have fun. The limit is that security is involved in our sports. I always remember one of the best coaches. He was artistic coaches from Soviet Union, and he was always telling us, you know, guys, we are not playing with balls. Our gymnasts are the balls, and if they falls the wrong way, then for us it is a professional fault. So yes, we do need fun. Yes, it is a lot of fun, but we have to do it in the very high sense of security. Also, I want to remind our friends that we are working in sports where we need our full capacity. We are working on a trampoline or a DMT or a tumbling track, and we need our full capacity. So training an injured gymnast is not good. It's a wrong behavior and it's counterproductive. You'll never achieve something by repeating skills or having hard training on the injured gymnasts. Our gymnasts are working mostly on the legs. So if your legs are not going well, you can't expect to do well. And we also have to remember that we work with high emotional during our acrobatic skills. We are it's really emotional. So we have to make sure that we have not overloads in technical training. We can have overloads, but that has to be in physical training. And what we should also remember and always be very careful, you know, Taco, in our sports, we sometimes have this problem we call the lost skill syndrome. And this happens quite often when there is something going wrong with the gymnast. Our coaches, they must be very careful to look at the gymnast behavior and try to find out if the gymnast is in good mood and is going well and he's ready to do our very acrobatic skills. If not, then the coach has no choice, but he has to change his plan and he has to replanning the whole process, or at least the training of the day, to make sure that the gymnast will not be confused during this training. And as I was always telling to my gymnast, rest is a weapon. So we must make sure that our training are properly done, but also what our gymnasts are doing outside of the training hall is helping them to rest and to be in a good shape to continue with our sports. So, Seko, that's my introduction to. I wanted to remind, but of course, our coaches, they know all this, but it's always good to remind that we do have fantastic sport, but this fantastic sport is full of acrobatic skills, and we do have to be very careful the way we train our young gymnasts.
Okay, Christophe. So can you tell us what would be the positive effects and in introducing new skills in an exercise? What would be the focus for the gymnast or the coach?
Well, this is a really interesting question, Seko, because as you know, we have many components of the scores, and maybe I should come back to that firstly. For instance, in trampoline, since the very beginning, the old guys that built these sports and built the rules, they wanted to put security first. And as a matter of fact, they said, okay, execution is very important. So we are making sure that our gymnasts do things properly in the proper way. But it's not only execution. Then they said, okay, and we have to add the difficulty. So the gymnast will build his core. He will be able to see how he's going up and progressing, and building the scores is really a motivation. There is very important for the young people. Okay, I'm here and I'm going here, and that is very important. And in the recent years, under the supervision of Horst Kunze, our TC president, we introduced two new components of the score, which are the time of flight, firstly, 10 years ago. Time of flight, people say sometimes, is it good for security? Because you ask people to go higher. But in fact, if you want to go higher, first you need to be technically correct to do so. I mean, you cannot expect to go high if you are not technically correct. So, well, you will only be able to do what you can do very nicely and properly. So this is also going on the safe side of the trampoline activity. And more recently, we also add a very interesting score, which is the horizontal displacement. And this is working very well for security also, because the more you are on the center of the trampoline, the less point you lose. Let's say another word, if you want to have a big score, you have to keep in the middle. To keep in the middle, you need to be very technical. So this is adding a lot to the security. If you look at this chart, how we build a score in trampoline and the percentages of the component of the score. So I took the World Championships and the World Age Group Games that was held in 2019 in Tokyo. And here what you can see is that for the young one, if you look at the boys, for instance, 11, 12 years old, the difficulty is only 12, not between 12 and 13% of their total score. I took the top 8 gymnasts, right, everywhere. So you see that difficulty is not that important compared to the other component. And what we can call the control criteria, which is execution, time of flight, and horizontal displacement, how the gymnast control his exercise, is 87% of the qualification score. And then you go up and up, you grow. And on the seniors at the World Championships, it's more, of course, but it's only 20% of the score. So you still have this almost 80% of the scores that is perfectly the control of the exercise. And if you look at the ladies, it's a little bit more, even a little bit more. And we have almost 90% of the scores for the very young girls that take part in our competitions. And still at the senior age, at the World Championship, it's 80% of the score, which is the control of your exercise. So this is very important for us because we know that we put the gymnast in a safe way to progress. So that is very important for us. Then if you look at something also very important for the trampoline community is that we do have a majority of the scores which are totally objectives. We have objectives criteria. Our difficulty is simple. We don't have problem with difficulty. Two judges are judging the difficulty, either on trampoline, tumbling, DMT, doesn't matter. We will always find out the right difficulty. We have no problem with that. So it's totally objective score. Of course, time of flight and horizontal displacement, machine are taking care of that. It's 100% objective score. So the criteria of objectivity is very high in our sports. It's 65 to 68%, 62 to 67%. So 2/3 of what we have as a score is a totally objective criteria. And then we have this execution where, of course, people say, is it so objectives? Well, we have introduced in trampoline something very nice, which is the skill per skill deduction. So that means that we're not looking at the global combination or globally how it works, but every skills the judge has to deduct, not knowing what the other judges do. So this is also bringing a lot of objectivity in our sports. And this is very important because we need that to show to the world that we are doing good things. It's always important for gymnast to be able to build his core. You know, sometimes we, in the gymnastic world, sometimes we are just deducting where we are judges. When we judge, we are judges, and we are applying penalties and deductions. And for the youngster, sometimes it looks a little bit hard. But if you look at our scores, the difficulty, we are building the difficulty. We are adding some scores, and we are building the difficulty. The time of flight, we are also building the time of flight. So the higher you go, the better your score will be. And the horizontal displacement is also working a little bit the same way. Of course, if we are not in the center, we lose points, but still we are more in the center, we get more points. So that is important to, in the thinking of the young gymnast, we can build our score. That is very nice. So now about the heart of your question, the possible effect when we are introducing a new element. Well, a lot of things can happen in the different disciplines. Let's, for instance, look at the trampoline. Okay, we first had one gymnast can do a 13-0 of difficulty. That means that he can do some triple somersaults, single somersaults, double somersaults, and so on. He thinks, and the coach thinks, they are ready to introduce more difficult exercise with a higher difficulty. And they go for this new 13-6 point of difficulty. The real change in this exercise is those two skills. You know, this back pike somersaults, and the double back pike somersault. So the difference will be 0.6 as an addition to the difficulty. The other elements are just changed somewhere, you know, they are just moved in the exercise just to replace everything where the gymnast feels comfortable with. But when you introduce a 0.6 of difficulty, then you have side effects. You might, you see here, because you changed the composition of the routine, you might lose execution because it's not so easy to do a half in, half out instead of a straight somersault. And you might lose a time of flight. You might lose also horizontal displacement. Then you lose points compared to what you had before. Same thing here, where it is more difficult to link those two elements, then those two elements, and so on. And when you introduce this element, of course, you will also, at the very beginning, lose a little bit. So you might end up with adding 0.6 of difficulty, but losing 0.9 in the total score. So you might say, well, why did I do that? I mean, it's not necessary to introduce new difficulty. Yes, it is, because you will master this exercise in the future. And when you master it, then you will win points. So when to introduce it? The first thing is, when we go to a competition, we have to be able to master the exercise we show during the competition. It's good because we are easy with it. Mentally, we can handle it because we already have the stress of the competition. So if we had the stress of the competition with the stress of a new exercise, then it might be a little bit too difficult. So you master the actual exercise while working a new one, and you have the maximum possible mark on this exercise. That is good for you. And at the training, you are doing the new exercise with a lot of success. So you are looking at the percentage of the success that you have. And when the percentage is very high, you are succeeding this exercise quite often. And more important, you are succeeding it at the very first try. Then you create the condition for change. You might be able to implement this new exercise in your competition. And this is when you have to repeat both exercise during the trials that you are doing at home, possibly with a judge that helps you on that way. And you compare the potential scores. And you say, okay, I'm still losing points. I'm not ready to put that exercise in the major competition, but I can use it on easy competition, not so important competition, and I will introduce that exercise during the competition to see how it works and to see how I feel it. And of course, at that time, you have to accept to lose points, because at the very first competitive attempt, you might lose points. But then in the next future, you will get the benefit of this new exercise and you will get more points during the competition. So this is a long process to introducing new exercise. It's just not like, okay, I know how to do it, I do it. It's not only that, it's a longer process. If you look at DMT, and if you look at this DMT chart, it's from 15, 16 years old boys at the World Age Group competition. And you see that, of course, when you master, this is the highest difficulty of this pass. When you master it, means you have a very good execution. Of course, you will get a very high score. And that is, let's say, the perfection. That's the end of the road. Okay, I know to do my big difficulty with a very nice execution. I get a very nice score. But before you do that, if you have a problem, you do this very big difficulty, you have a good execution score, you know how to do it, but angles are not good. You're moving a little bit and you've got this penalty. You go and you land on zone B, and for probably this penalty is you land on zone B and you're moving from zone B to zone C on the landing area. Whoa, all of a sudden you lose 1.2. All of a sudden you're down to 35.5, where you could have expected 37. So you see, Teko, that in this case, also our rules play the security. I mean, this big penalty here plays against introducing elements that you are not able to fully control. And if you see, this gymnast plays with easier skills, but doing very well, is in the range, it is in the same range. So that means if you introduce, or if you're doing a big difficulty, but you're not able to master it perfectly, then you might end up with those in the same range as the gymnasts that are doing easier difficulty, but they are mastering it. So it's always you and your coach always have to find the right situation. Last thing from tumbling, this is the same thing. You know that DMT and tumbling, we are very concerned about the the landing, because when you're landing, you might, if you're over rotated, that could be okay if you finish right the skill, but under rotated is always a big problem for us because that's where you can really get injuries. So what we built and what the coaches and the gymnasts always have to remember is that landing is so important. Let's say that you are doing a very, very nice double somersault straight. The difficulty 2-4. Okay, let's say you lose 0.3 for execution, 1/10 per judge, and the same thing for landing. So what you get from this skill is 1.8. Difficulty 2-4 minus what you lose in the execution and the landing, 1.8. Then if you want to introduce a triple somersault, triple tuck somersault, it's a huge difference between those two skills. So technically, I mean, and physically, it's a huge difference. So of course, the reward for the difficulty is a difference. It's also huge 1.9 difference. So you see, yes, it's worth it to introduce it, but it's not worth it when it's not mastered. If you look at the execution, if you are not doing it well, easily triple somersault, you will lose 0.4 per judge. So 1.2 as a total. And you are over rotated, you roll on the back, or you put knees on the floor because you cannot land it very nicely, you lose 3 points. So you put your triple somersault, and what you get out of it is only 0.3 instead of a 1.8 with a mastered double somersault straight. So in this case, it was not worth it. It was not worth the trip to introduce it. You are not ready to introduce it. When you're doing it, putting hands on the floor, which is this landing deduction, then you're average, you're equal with doing a very nice double straight somersault. So still there, it's under question where you should put this triple somersault or not. It's really under question. But then when you master it and you do it with a good execution, it's very difficult to have a very good execution on triple somersault, but a very good landing you can have, then the outcome is great. You can gain a lot with this skill. So you see the skills, even if you know how to do it in your training hall, it's also a question of when do we have to introduce this element in our exercise.
Okay, thank you very much, Christophe. Just one quick question for you. Sometimes coaches and gymnasts are a bit impatient to compete new skills. Is there such a thing as I'm taking too long to compete my new skills that I've been working on for such a long time?
I wouldn't say, well, too long might be too long, but quite frankly, you need to master it. As I just said, you might lose more points introducing a new skill than winning any points as a total score. What you always have to think is, when is the right time? If I'm doing a trial competition or a not so important competition, maybe it's the right time. I have mastered my element at home. I know how to do it, but now I have to present it during competition. And we all have been through competition, and we know the stress that is going out of this competition. So we must admit that our first attempt to introduce a new skill or a new exercise might not be very successful. So, okay, we have to live with that, but we have also to present it. You cannot expect to present your highest exercise at your highest competition. If the big competition of the year is the World Championships, and that's the time you introduce your new exercise, it's a bet. I mean, so you should probably have put that exercise in a lower competition to see how it works and to see how the judges and everything will go.
All right, so I think at this point in time, I want to call back Michael and turn over to Michael to talk about from a coach's perspective. So Michael, just brief us quickly what you're going to focus on in your seminar.
Now I can adapt everything what Christophe was talking about to the daily training process. And I got a lot of examples from my gym where I work all day. from the little ones to the high advanced athletes, and I show some examples how to give them a good surrounding, a proper security situation, manual helping, and all the safety apparatus we need just to show up this process in a safe and very proper way. And now I have some presentation for you. So in this first slide, I want to show just a little boy. He's trying for the first attempt a front drop. And we are standing on a very thin mat. And I'm leading him with my manual helping to a safe and proper landing and giving a feeling for the direction of the takeoff. And I can stop a little bit the rebound from the trampoline. As soon as he's mastering this thing a little bit better, I repeat it, I can give him a little kick so he can come back on his feet. I lead him, slow down a little bit the move, and he's back on his feet again. So, and the same boy, in the next slide, he already mastered the front drop on his own, more or less quality. And now we have a mat. This is clipped on the surface of the trampoline. And he repeats the skill, the front drop on his own. Many, many times he can repeat, and this mat avoids that he maybe scratches himself on the bed or have an uneven landing. So he feels very safe. He can repeat it many, many times. And the coach is able to give some verbal corrections and to look maybe on the second trampoline to lead some other boys or girls. So this was the front drop he's doing on his own. Okay, on the next slide, I show you some situation we have in our gym. You see the coach standing on a wooden podium. So he's in a very safe position, and during the athlete is mastering a skill combination, he's always ready to step in the trampoline to secure maybe not so good landing. Additionally, we have another boy on the side of the trampoline, and he is giving him the safety mat in his last skill. But if in this situation would maybe a bad landing, the coach is on this podium and is always ready to step into the trampoline to give maybe a safe situation. I repeat this, and you can see the podium between the two trampolines. It's with foam pads and cushions. It's a very safe way, and the coach is always ready to step in. And you see the use of the safety mat. The other boy is giving him the safety mat in the half in, half out. Now another situation. This girl is mastering the rudy out pike for the very first time. And the coach is standing on the side, and he's stepping in to secure the landing. And as well, the safety mat is coming in for the landing. So this was the very first attempt from the girl doing the rudy out pike on the trampoline, and the coach is secure her landing. He steps in, give her a hand, so she is not traveling maybe backward on the mat or falling after the skill. If we have some problems, Christoph was talking about this lost move syndrome, where athletes, they were mastering the skills for many years, but maybe they lost the skill from different reason. We have the bungee lounge here and a mat to get back maybe to the skill. And you here see the half out tuck from this boy, tuck back, and now he's doing a half out tuck with an early kick out in the end of the skill. So we have a clear view to the bed and see before he lands. I repeat this skill again. He's doing the half out with an early kick out and a really clear view to the bed. So now half out, look to the bed and land in a very safe way. If he's mastering the skill again with more and more confidence, you can loosen the bungee belt a little bit, so it gives more the feeling that he's mastering everything on his own. Now we have Another situation which is very, very useful in training, we have a foam pit here, and the girl, she's preparing the triples, which we were talking about today. And now she's doing the triple into the foam pit, triple pike. So this is a very comfortable and safe landing, doing the triple front somersaults for the first time. But don't underestimate landings in the foam pit. You always have to keep your tension, and you always have to keep the aerial awareness, because bad landings in foam pits are possible as well. Yeah? So you always have to keep tension. I repeat this. Always keep the tension and the aerial awareness. And maybe you heard the verbal sign for the kick out before the landing. If you proceed with the triple front, you want to master the triple pike with a half twist, maybe someday on the trampoline. The next step might be a 2 3/4 front in the pike position in a very thick and soft mat. You see, I'm on the side of the trampoline here, and we see this in slow motion. Eileen is doing the 2 3/4 front into a very soft and thick mat. So this is almost the same like in a foam pit, but without traveling forward. She's now doing the skill on the same spot. So again, 2 3/4 pike front into a soft landing, and she's very safe and comfortable here. Before you do the triffis pike, you should master the triffis in a tuck position. And we see the same girl as before doing the triffis tuck into the foam pit with the half twist in the end of the skill. So I can see if she's able to have the right timing now for the opening and the half twist for the landing. And she has to master this skill many, many times before she can do it on the trampoline. Once more, the triffis tuck into the foam pit, and she gets from my coach's side a verbal sign, a signal for the opening and the half twist. Okay, so we proceed and go to the next step. Okay. So now this is the very, very first attempt in a triff pike from Leonie. I'm on the frame. I'm standing on the frame to step in and to secure the landing. If she maybe under rotates or over rotates the skill, shows she's not falling. And as well, we use this thick mat, which we've seen before in the other slide. We see this in slow motion. This is the very first attempt, triffis pike. You see that the kick out, the opening is not very safe. She's not very 100% sure that this is the right timing. And she loses a little bit tension in the knees, but she felt fine enough to master this skill the first time with this security situation. We're using this thick mat, and I was stepping onto the trampoline to slow down the landing a little bit and to give her a hand. Okay. So maybe a word to the situation. This is now a young lady. And if we do manual helping with young ladies or young girls, we have to make sure that we avoid touching the girl's body or the lady's body in sensible areas. In emergency cases, no doubt about it, you have to catch it and to avoid really bad landings for sure. But if it's not needed, you keep away your hands. You're just there, just in an emergency case. You know, as you see, I only used my left hand on the back of the lady and not the right hand at the chest of her. So if it's possible to avoid touching the girl's body in sensible ways, we have to avoid this. So only maybe 2 months later, this is not a very good quality in the video, but I wanted to show this because Leonie was training and keep training the triff pike for the next 6 or 8 weeks. And this was the result after 8 weeks of training. Now she's mastering the drift pike in a really good way. She has a good opening with a clear view to the bed, and she does not need me anymore on the frame spotting her. She only needs the normal safety mat to master the skill. Show it again. This is a well-mastered drift pike, and I was sure maybe another 4 or 6 weeks, and she's able to add another skill, to link another skill after this drift pike. If we have a well-mastered drift pike, for sure you want to put it in your routine, like Christoph told us before. You want to put this new and hard skill into your routine because you want to build up difficulty, you want to build up height, and if you master a triple pike like Matthias on the next slide, you are able to do it to the beginning of your routine. Matthias is showing us the first 4 skills of his voluntary with 3 triples and a half in Rudy pike as the 4th skill. So here is the new drift pike, followed by half in half out triffis tuck, and half in Rudy pike. So you can see no problem to put this very well mastered skills in the beginning of his routine. I show this again. And Christoph and Zeko, you all know that 3 triples in the men's competition, this was usual maybe 5 or 6 years ago. But now we are in other dimensions. And if you master this skill, you have to make your routine even harder. And you put the drift pike maybe into the middle of your routine. So what is Matthias showing us here is doing 2 skills before the triple pike. Normally he starts with a triple pike with 1.5 twists now as the first skill, and the drift pike, which he was building up many years before, is now in the middle of his routine. In this case, starting half out pike, half in half out, and now he's doing the triffis pike, followed by half in half out triffis. So this is the normal process which Christoph was talking about before in the competition process. And this is the same. We have to build all the needed confidence in the training process. In the slide before, I go back maybe to the slide before, where we see Matthias. You see following things now. We see 2 mats from each side, 1 mat from each side of the trampoline. This is very common in the last years, and it's meanwhile allowed from the competition rules. Many years it was only allowed to have 1 mat, 1 safety mat from the side which is more far away from the judges, but now you are allowed to use the safety mat from each side. Okay. So this is what I wanted to show you, some examples in a safe and proper way in the training process from the gym I am working and the athletes I am allowed to work with.
Great, Michael. So I want to follow up with 2 questions for you and then 1 more for Christoph. So what do you think a coach should do if the gymnast is struggling to perform a certain skill during warm-up or training at a competition?
Oh, this is a interesting but a really hard question, because it's not so easy to take the athlete to the side and give him a calm situation. There is a lot of disturbance in the gym, a lot of people preparing their competition, but you have to make sure that you are very close to him, to talk to him in a safe and positive way, and to give him back his confidence and do the single skill maybe again, give him a good mood where he can repeat and give him the confidence that he can do it in competition. You have to be very close to your athlete if this happens.
And a follow-up question, do you have to stay close to the trampoline, even if your most consistent and experienced gymnast is performing?
You know, I come back to you now from my own experience. I was very lucky to be being coached by Paul Luxon in my really most important competitions. And he did not need to say many words to me when I was entering the trampoline in competition. But what I needed was that he was about half a meter beside me. I felt him, he felt me, and we felt the deep confidence, the deep trust. And so I was in a very, very good mood when he was at my side, when I was entering the trampoline at World Championships, for example.
So Christoph, Michael has talked a lot about the trampoline situation. What I wanted to ask you, having also the tumbling background, is that what is your opinion about passive and active support for tumbling during the competition itself?
Tseko, as you know, there is not much that a coach can do as an active support during the competition. During the warm-up, maybe the coach can reassure the athletes by helping him, supporting him a little bit on the big skill. But after that, this is it, because you're not allowed to touch the gymnast during the competition, of course. What is important anyway is that we have to give the gymnast a full autonomy. We have to prepare the gymnast to go to this competition. We have to repeat how the competition will be during our trainings, make sure that the gymnast knows his routine. But then the gymnast is in the competition hall and he needs somebody. Like Michael said, he needs to feel that people who knows him, who loves him, are near to him. Well, it's not so easy on trampoline, on the GMT or tumbling, because you're moving 30 meters away anyway. So 2 positions, you will see some coaches that are at the landing and the gymnast see the coach before he goes. And that is what is more important for him. He wants to see his coach, or on the side of the tumbling track. He wants to see the coach. But some gymnasts will need a different thing. He will need the coach to be close to him, at the run-up, and to say the last word, to reassure him and to say, those words that we are used to say during this competition. And that's where you have to be. So as a coach, one more time, you need to know your gymnast, and you need to know that this one wants you very close at the very beginning of the run-up. The other one will need to be reassured because he's going to put a big skill at the end, and he wants to see you there. So that is what is very interesting in the coaching process. Is okay. You always need to understand your gymnast to give him the best of you, so he can produce the best of himself.
All right, I'd like to just say thank you to both of you for wonderful presentations. I really hope that our viewers out there have really enjoyed it and find the information very useful to them. Until next time, I'd like to say, everybody, please stay safe.